Official calls costing games. Are Riker Lee and Igor Cern ready to make the jump into the Nashville Predators system? And when's the right time to pull the goalie?
You're Locked On Predators, your daily podcast on the Nashville Predators, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
What's up, everyone? I'm Jack Williams, and hey, happy Mailbag Monday. We are covering a plethora of topics today suggested by you, the viewers, prospects, the general manager search, breaking down the latest games, gaffes, and everything in between. All suggested by you, the viewers. And hey, if this sounds like a lot of fun to y'all and you want to get involved, or you're just a regular at Mailbag Mondays, the best way you can find this and get involved is submitting through our Mailbag Mondays form that can be found in every single episode description, whether you're listening or watching. It's a Google form. 2 quick, easy questions asking you what your question's all about and if you want a shout out or not. As of each time that I've done every one of these episodes, the mailbag ones, I've been able to answer every single question. So we're going to keep on that trend so far and submit away as many questions as we get going in here. It's best. And we love having the options, but we'll jump right into it. These first set of questions are going to be a little bit more geared towards, what's happening in the present right now and just what happened this past week and just kind of referencing some games a little bit more, but I'll stop chatting about it and we'll get right into it here. This first question was submitted by one of the regulars. That's Vision 9X. If you guys have watched the last Mailbag Mondays episodes, Vision 9X is always here. Real faithful. Love you, man. Love to see the questions submitted here. This might sound like biased towards the Preds, but who cares? The refs in the Sharks and Devils games are absolutely awful. If we didn't have the 6-1 lead over the Sharks going into the third, we potentially could have lost that game with all the dumb penalties called on us. And with the Devils game, I don't think I need to say anything on other than the parlays hit for them. Ain't that the truth? I mean, I wasn't so hyper fixated on the reffing as you said here in the Sharks game, just because the Predators had such a wide lead in that game that whatever was going to happen there wasn't going to spark a miraculous comeback from the Sharks. I believe it was a 6-2, 6-3 result. Played a fantastic first period there, really came out of the gates, played a really complete game here that we haven't seen a lot from this team this year, and just got rolling from the start. The reffing calls, again, I wasn't really hyper fixated on them. I think, briefly remember me kind of questioning some of them being a little weak. The Devils game was where the issue was. And like you said, I don't think I need to say anything more. Just the Svechkov call was abysmal and just a poke check that was called as a tripping call when Svechkov was literally looking at, I think it was calling Jack Hughes, looking at him eye to eye. And then the Matthew Wood call for slashing was just, I mean, you get to a point where some games the refs put their whistles away and then other games they can't get them out of their mouths. And for the Predators, I know there's a little bit of bias in this and it is what it is, but there have been really a handful of calls that have been missed for them this year. In my opinion, it's been less so of the bad calls on them and more so missed calls. I mean, the one we could reference over and over again was the penalty, the trip that should have been against Roman Josi on the boards against the Red Wings that led down to a break on the other end of the ice, and they scored. And I believe that ended up being the game-winning goal in that game. But there's been a lot of situations this year with the refs. The Devils was hopefully the peak of it, and just they did cost him that game. Steven Stamkos was very, very blunt about how he felt. I mean, it's good because he's the only one on the roster that is really able to talk about these officiating calls and just how brutal they are. And he said, listen, this PO'd me. I don't know if I can say that, but like I guess I can PO'd, but I can't say what it actually means. But essentially saying that and really being like, yo, this was not okay. And even Andrew Brunette was kind of dancing around it too. But Stamkos has been the one, especially for the Wild game too, where they lost that game on the net getting knocked off and that was called a goal. And he was the one saying, how does that happen? So, I mean, it's good for him that he's able to stand up and talk about this a little bit more, but the officiating has been brutal these past few games. Hopefully can clean up here coming down the stretch and this being a critical stretch for them. You don't want officials calling games here. Well, not calling games, but calling the results of them. This is from Jeremy. I am relatively new to following hockey, and I understand the reasoning behind pulling your goalie when trailing in the last, however many minutes of the game. My question is, should you really do it every time? I personally have never seen it work, at least for the Preds. Would it even be better for them just not to do it with what you got? Giving up an empty netter is like the game is over before it's actually over, and it sure does rub salt on the open wound. Okay, so I mean, this is a green question. And it's completely fine too of just being introduced to the game a little bit more, understanding it as well. And just what you're seeing from the Predators on 6-on-5 play is not how it's supposed to go, and usually how it doesn't go for most teams. They cannot score the puck well. It's coming into 6-on-5. Like, they can't put it into the empty net. And then when it's the other way around, they can't prevent teams from scoring on them the other way. But I think your question is pertaining to the Preds pulling the 6-on-5 and pulling, not them pulling. Yes, not them. Yeah, them pulling for the 6-on-5, and we haven't seen too much of that lately. We saw it. I don't know if we saw it in the Canadiens game as much. The Devils game, we saw it, and it just ended up being a gap. They just can't play 6-on-5, whether they are the 5 or the 6, and they've been so bad lately. That's not the way you manage it at all. Just this team does not know how to play 6-on-5. The best way to do it is you get the puck moving. The way I see 6-on-5 hockey is you got to get the team in front of you, the 5, moving as much as they can to where eventually they'll create a gap. And I'm moving my chair, like y'all can see me doing an example of this, but moving, skating off kind of central points as much as they can to the point where that will open up a gap and a moment to shoot. It's the same way the power play works as well. And the Predators just don't manage it this well. I don't think it's more so about the concept of 6-on-5 and if you should do it. It's just the Predators are really bad at doing it this year. So accumulating all of that together, I guess the Predators need to play better 6-on-5 completely. It's one of the many things they need to be doing better down the stretch here. But 6-on-5 is a good advantage to have if you know how to manage it correctly. And you just got to be aware of it going both ways, whether it being the press you're getting from the other team or you pressing the other way. You need to manage that both ways. And the Predators can't seem to do that either way. But Jeremy, thank you for the question here. Let's jump on to the next one. This next question is from Joe Dion. And he caught that I've been pronouncing it incorrectly. Joe Dion, like Celine Dion. Jedi Nash, another regular. Great to see you here again. What is your take on Vange? I don't really think he's a shooter, but he racks up the assists, yet I cringe when he's on the ice, especially referring to the breakaway he had against the Devils, and it turned out bleh. And then his flop on the ice on the empty net when the puck was under him. Oh, yeah, that was rough. Also, you're killing it on the show. Thank you, Joe. I appreciate that. I was talking to Ann Kimmel about this yesterday and about Evangelista because he's not looked amazing these last few games. And I'll give him some credit to the Devils game, and just he went out and he made the save originally on that play to prevent the puck from going into the empty net, and that's fine. However, he needs to be a little bit more sound, and obviously he's a forward playing as goaltender in that position, and obviously that's abnormal, of course. But I mean, he was hit with the puck. If you guys don't know what happened, it was a shot at the empty net. He was able to stop it, and then the puck dropped in between his legs. He didn't know where it was, and I think that allowed Jesper Bratt to come up and poke it into the net, and that made it a 4-2 final. But I don't blame him too much on that situation as much, just because it's abnormal, and you don't really expect to do that as much. Obviously, you would like more awareness on the ice when you're in that place and knowing where the puck is, especially when it is 6-on-5, going back to what we were talking about with 6-on-5 as well. But the problem I have with him is just the odd man breaks. His skating has just been rough, y'all. I mean, there were so many, specifically against the Canadiens, there were a lot of odd man breaks in that game, whether it be from Montreal or Nashville the other way. And he gets the feed like around the blue line, and he gets the entrance feed a lot. He does not know how to enter the zone quick and efficiently. He'll kind of bow out a little bit more and kind of, I don't know the right way to explain this, kind of like curve a little bit more in instead of going forward. And he doesn't really turn on the jets. He's just not a great skater. I hate to say that, but his skating abilities compared to other guys on the roster, and I know Matthew Wood has had an issue with this in the year, but it has gotten substantially better as he's used his frame a little bit more to make up for that. But Evangelista's skating, it really needs to improve. It's been no bueno lately. It's not been good. That's been a big hampering in his game because he's gotten that feed pass onto the blue line, into the zone so many times, and he can't do anything with it. The reason why he's been able to pass the puck so many times is because he usually goes wide into the zone and there's somebody breaking straight down the middle and he's able to feed it there and they're able to score. That's the reason why he's racked up so many assists lately. As for his entrance abilities, they're just not good. So, I mean, I think he needs to work on more of his individual play and his individual scoring sense rather than dishing the puck out a little bit more. Again, I have no problem if he's dishing the puck out consistently and finding goals completely. If you're still doing your job there, go for it. But as of lately, he's gotten that breakout feed into the zone and he does not know how to handle it. So just a little bit more depth into that part of his game as well. He's been great this year. He's been really good in just, as you mentioned, just dishing the puck out and creating scoring opportunities. But when it's him and himself having these chances, I mean, we haven't really seen him in the shootout for a reason. It's not been great. So, I mean, that depth piece needs to be added to his game for sure. But one more question in this segment here. This is from Vision 9X. Another regular of the show. It's great to see you again, man. Thank you for submitting the questions every week. Something really needs to change during these last couple of games of the season. If the team wants to make the playoffs, you're telling me, man, you're telling me, as they can go from wildcard 2 to 4th to last in the conference at this rate with how they're playing. And we are right back in the McKenna talks. Gavin McKenna coming to Nashville because they'd be so bad and they pick up a number 1 overall pick. I can't go so long into the segment here, and I could go on a whole rant about this. It's one specific thing with this team, and it's really irritating that they refuse to answer questions about this anymore because I think they're irritated and getting asked about it. It's the starts. They are abysmal. You cannot be starting games that bad consistently and expect to win and saying, oh, we're going to fix it. We're going to fix it. And they don't want us asking questions about it anymore because we've asked a lot of that back in January and it's almost April now. Then fix it. As our jobs as reporters is to figure out, hey, this is a problem here. What are y'all doing to fix it? And the starts continuously are an issue over and over and over again. And Andrew Brunette talked about against the Canadians game, we didn't bring the intensity, we didn't execute. Yeah, but you didn't do it from the start of the game, and that just bled into the rest of the game. The starts are the worst part of this mess. And if they continue starting games bad, just down the road, it's over. It's over. You can't start games behind that. And it's gotten to the point now where they can't be the comeback Preds anymore. Just play consistent hockey. That's the point of it. And Vision 9X, Vision, if you want to go by your first name, I guess, first part of your handle, you're right. It's this playoff race is so tight. You can't give anything out and you can't give anything to anybody. You need to grab as much as you can because anything you put out there for someone to give, they're going to take it. It's a discounted garage sale. They're going to grab it if it's available completely. So, I mean, I can't get on this tangent again. Maybe we'll see it in a later episode of me getting all yelly and about this if they lose to the Tampa Bay Lightning today. By the time this episode comes out, we'll all know the results. As of now, me recording this, it is 0-0. But we'll see if we can get on that rant again. I don't know if I want to or not. But when we come back, we'll be talking about a little bit of some prospect questions here, mainly from Riker Lee, Igor Surin, and just managing call-ups. Got an interesting segment coming up about the future. But hang tight. After the ad break, we'll be chatting about that. What if sports were traded like markets? Now you can put your sports IQ to work in real time with Robinhood Prediction Markets. It's not you against the house. It's you participating in a live market. You can buy or sell your positions live all game long. Use your sports knowledge in the moments that matter. Robinhood Prediction Markets changes the game. It's people moving with the action. So when momentum shifts, you can move with it. I always knew the game, but never had a dynamic way to apply that knowledge. Now I can actually take part live in a market powered by people. You're no longer just a spectator. Play by play, you decide. Trade every play with Robinhood. Now available across the U.S. Download the Robinhood app now to begin. Futures and cleared swaps trading involve significant risk and is not appropriate for everyone. Event contracts are offered by Robinhood Derivatives, LLC, a registered futures commission merchant and swap firm. So we're into future talk now, and this is always a fun topic. It's very relevant now considering the NCAA tournament is about to jump into the Frozen Four phase now with teams getting knocked out. And as this title says, the last 4 teams alive in the tournament here coming up. But before we get into this topic, just want to talk about the guys that are there. If you guys don't already know, Jack Ivankovic is there with the University of Michigan. Riker Lee is there with Michigan State. Both, unfortunately, have been eliminated from the tournament. Ivankovic has not been as of me recording this. However, that championship game is going to be played while I'm recording this on Sunday. Jack Ivankovic, again, will be playing in that with Michigan. And then Aiden Fink. Yes, his name evaded me for some reason. Was in it with Penn State, and then they got knocked out by Minnesota Duluth. So if you guys ever want to keep up with prospects, NCAA is a great way to do it. But we'll jump into the prospect questions here. This is a great one from Sean O'Toole, aka Mediocre Midwest Dad on X. Hey, Jack, how do you think the next GM should prioritize NCAA upperclassmen versus best player available based on the Preds' unusual timeline? Meaning that we have 3 years or less on Factor, Stamkos, Marchessault, but longer on Juice and Shea. And with a ton of quality players in the pipeline, should a potential GM look for a higher end tools or more of ready-made prospects? It was great to meet you at the Vegas game. Yes, Sean, it was great to link up with you at the Vegas game as well. This is a fascinating, amazing question to get. I'm just going to run up to it in the way that I do it if I was general manager, in the way that the GM should go about it right now. What you need to do is you need to get these guys into the system here. And that starts with Milwaukee, and just start replenishing Milwaukee a lot more. Aiden Fink's a name that really should be moving up into that Milwaukee system now and getting incorporated. He had a fantastic year in the NCAA. I think it's time that he makes the jump up to pro. He's a little bit smaller, but this is a gem that the Predators got in the 7th round back in 2023, and he's been playing phenomenal in the NCAA this year. Aiden Fink is a guy that you need to get into the system right now that's coming from the NCAA. Riker Lee, we'll talk about him in a second, but when his time comes up, I think he should get a run more in Milwaukee. You need to start these guys out in Milwaukee in the NCAA, see how they do for a handful of games, and then most of them are coming up towards the end of the season here. Give them some runs in Nashville, and depending on what position this team is in as well. Right now, I don't think you want to be making a lot of call-ups from Milwaukee or these younger guys just because you're in a wild card race right now and you're playing for something a little bit more. You don't really want to be playing charity puck a little bit more. But as for best available versus NCAA, I mean, you got to go with best available. If somebody's playing well in the moment and there's so much of a talent gap and a shift you need to make from going from NCAA and juniors into pro, even if it is the AHL, there's such a shift and such a transition you need to make that it can't be one for one sometimes. Matthew Wood, I mean, yeah, like that's a good example. He came in, had a little bit of a slow start in those final few games he played in Nashville, them being his first NHL games, his first experience. Came back here, had a good experience here, had some high and low points here, but now starting to play some consistent hockey. He's a good example of that in the NCAA, but has spent some time down in Milwaukee as well. But he got his starting time as soon as he came here. He went into Milwaukee, and just like I said, that transition phase there and figuring things out, you want to start them out in the AHL, see how they do for even as little as like 4 games, and then see if they deserve a chance up in Nashville. That's the best way to management. You just don't want to throw somebody into the deep end expecting them to swim. It's good to introduce them into there. Tanner Mollendyk's a big example of this right now. He had a phenomenal years in juniors. He's had a little bit of a slower start in Milwaukee, but it's just because he's young and it's just a big transition. I know juniors is way different than the NCAA, but it's the same thing of just needing to make the transition and getting settled and seeing how things go a little bit more. But no, it's a good question to manage it for sure. And I'm guessing, Sean, you're talking about guys like Riker Lee and Aiden Fink. And managing NCAA experience. And I'm just going to say those guys should get some time in Milwaukee before you figure out what you want to do with them in Nashville. And then best available, if somebody's playing well in the AHL, just give them a chance, as we've seen with Ryan Ufko. Just a beast and a call-up I've been waiting for forever. But thank you, Sean, for the question. We'll jump to the next one. This is from the Tanner Molendyke Foundation. Hey, Jack, could we see Igor Surin come to the NHL next year? He's popping off in the KHL with 15 goals, 22 assists for 37 points in 57 games. That is a no-joke stat line. The KHL is no joke. It's a men's league, and for a 19-year-old to go ahead and produce at this rate, there's serious conversation for him to be a third-line guy if Jost or Haula do not return. He's a really fun guy to watch. At the age of 19, he could surely be the youthful spark that Nashville could use. If Surin plays his cards right, he could play center for the 2013 Russian Olympic roster. It's valid. I do not remember what his contract situation is. I can't remember if this is the last year on it or he has one more year on it as well. I'm guessing the Predators are trying everything that they can to get him into Nashville system and at least get him suited up for Milwaukee, get him down there for a game or two, and then put him up into Nashville. That would be a great last season acquisition. I'd love to see him come up here next year. It's the whole thing is about his KHL contract. That's the big thing that is kind of stipulating his start in the NHL. So Surin's contract runs through the next season. So it would be 26, 27. He'd have one more in the KHL, and then he'd come here in 27, 28. So you'd be without Surin for one more year. I don't know what it looks like in terminating contracts in the KHL and leaving the league a little bit more. I don't know too much into that math and all that kind of stuff about what KHL contracts look like, but if he stays on that contract, you're not going to see him again. Unfortunately, till the start of the 2027-28 season. There's a new rule that was put into place as well with the KHL contracts that they don't come into play until May 31st as well. If there's new signings, that's when they get applied as well. So that delays things a little bit more. And the KHL is definitely doing that on purpose to make sure that these players stay there and don't go into the NHL. But like I said, I'm guessing Nashville's doing everything that they can to try to figure out how they can get him here as soon as they can. He definitely deserves it. He's an elite player. He's playing, like you mentioned, in a men's league at 19 years old. He is moving very well. He has a great build. He is huge. He's a beast. And I mean, there's a lot good going for him. As you mentioned, he could be a part of a potential Russian Olympic roster if Russia were to return to the Olympics. But I'm going to say now you're not going to see him next year just because he's Russian made. He's from Russia. He's playing well in that league there. I think he might want one more year where he can really pop off. I don't know what contract elimination looks like in the KHL. So I wouldn't be surprised if the Predators find a way to bring him over here. But as of now, I'm going to say he's going to stay at that contract in the KHL. And it kind of hurts because he's a really big prospect out there that's really popping off and a lot of fun to watch. So Tanner Molendijk Foundation, thank you as a regular. Thank you for commenting and submitting every week. This is from Vision 9X. As we know, another regular. Love the questions here. Need Riker Lee in the lineup next season. Put him on the line with Wood and Evangelista. Now with Riker Lee, he's great. He's unbelievable. He is the future offensive star that this organization has never had. And I'm going to say Philip Forsberg. I think this kid, when we're talking about offensive upside and just flashiness, is going to be way more flashy and exciting. That this is a crazy thing to say than Philip Forsberg, just because if you watch him in Milwaukee and what he's done in his hands, he's exciting. He's a thrilling player to watch, but that's very far out in the future and stuff. I don't think he comes up. I think he does another year in the NCAA just because he did 1 year there. He had a really good year. I think you give him another year to really settle in, really have his game pop off, potentially get himself into Hobie conversations as well. He's a really good kid. He has a ton of offensive upside here and just thrilling. And, watching him, you're like, oh God, he needs to be in Nashville right now, and completely would love to see him up here in Nashville 100%. But I think he just needs one more year to produce. I definitely don't want to rush this kid at all. And I think the Predators want to keep it sound too. Also, depends on what the new general manager would think of that he needs to get pulled up into the NCAA quick into the Predator system or not. But if I was GM, I'd leave him for one more year just to get, like I said, just to get him settled in, just to have a dominant year and just continuing to find this pace. And again, the transition is the big thing. That's huge. From the NCAA into pros, that's a massive transition, and the game isn't always 1-for-1 at all. It very, very, very rarely happens. So, I mean, even if he comes up here, he might struggle a bit for a while, and he might have to play a different style of game. But I think one more year in the NCAA will be beneficial for him. As much as I agree with you, I'd love to see Riker Lee up here. The things that this kid does is nasty, and like nasty in the cool, positive context of just sick. It's just the way his hands. Oh my God. I can't say enough good things about Riker Lee. And this was such a steal in the draft too, as a late first round pick as well. Like, Riker Lee, man, would love to get him up here too. I feel you, Vision. I feel you. But before we get into the break, I want to talk to you guys about the Everydayer Club. Thank you for making Locked On Predators your first listen of the day. And thank you for making Locked On the #1 sports podcast network. You already live your team every day. Now take it up a level and go ad-free. Join the Everydayer Club today and get Locked On Predators with no interruptions, members-only Discord access, and more, all for just $5 a month or $50 a year. Go to lockedonpredators.supercast.com or check the link in the show notes to learn more. When we come back, we kind of got a little bag of everything going on. We're talking about Ryan Ufko. We're talking about the GM search, and we're going to talk about goalies. That's coming up right after the break. So one of the more interesting questions that we got is a little bit more of a bold claim, but I think it could be fun. So let's check it out. Let me sift through the bag here. It was left anonymous too, so let's talk about it. Agree or disagree, Ryan Ufko is the next Roman Josi and has a good shot to be the next captain. We are watching a future legend in Ryan Ufko. Wow, that's a bold question. That's a bold statement. I don't think he's Roman Josi. I think because he doesn't build out that build. He doesn't make up that build as much just because Roman Yoshi's a bigger guy. I think they play two different styles. I think Ufko's a little bit faster. I think he fills out more of a Nick Blankenberg type of deal. I think he could go for like an assistant captain once a Roman Josi is retired, and I think he could step up into that role a little bit more because he is the next step of when we're talking about the D-core, because Brady Shea is a bit older. Oh God, who's in the D-core right now? It's so unmemorable. Nick Hague, Nick Perbix, Justin Barron, who I don't know why he's still here. Adam Wilsby he's nothing special. I think Ryan Ufko is he's the next step, I think, to lead the defensive core. Wouldn't say he's a legend or the next Roman Josi, but I think he's going to be very good. I think he still needs to find his rhythm in here a little bit. He got called up, and then as soon as he got called up, he had a really hot start, and he's kind of simmered down a little bit. But I think he needs to find his rhythm a little bit more before we finally decide on just how much of an impact he's going to leave. I'm hoping that he just stays a roster regular for the rest of the season. Obviously, he was called up because Nick Blankenberg was traded, but I hope that he's a regular roster call-up just because I think he adds an element to the game that's needed. He adds that speed. He adds that scoring touch. And ever since he's been called up, this team stabilized a little bit more. So, I mean, I like him. I think he's very good. Obviously, we all know that I like him a lot, but I think I don't know if it's too early to say if he's going to be a legend or not, or if he's going to be the next Roman Josi or like is going to be all that. I think he's going to be very good. I don't know if he's at legend status at all, but I think he's going to be a beneficial player for the Predators. That is for sure. All right, jump into the next question here. Looking at the wrong thing. Hold on, y'all. All right. Tanner Molendeg Foundation with another question. Hi again, Jack. With the GM search going on, I think someone who people are overlooking for the spot is that Kevin? Yes, Kevin Adams. I know he got fired from Buffalo, but look at the Buffalo roster. He can surely draft. Plus, he's more respected in GM circles than Trotz was. You have to think he is the most qualified roster builder available. So the GM search is really hard to talk about just because I have a lot of issues with the way that the prospects that are being brought forward in this are being brought forward, just because there are a lot of guys that have been fired and don't have jobs that everyone's like, oh, they should be the new GM. And when you're hiring someone, the last thing you want to hear is they were fired from their last jobs. And that's kind of like how I look at it a little bit more, but I understand this is a lot different. With Kevin Adams, yes, maybe it was a whole situation of if you had given him one more year, he would have seen his rosters come to fruition a little bit as how well the Buffalo Sabres are doing right now. But I mean, Buffalo was his only job. And I think that puts him a little bit lower on the totem pole when I'm talking about leading the management perspective a little bit more and being that general manager. He only had that one position there. And that's, I think, what limits the Predators from looking at him a little harder. Obviously, the roster building is good. One of the kind of dashes on his resume that I saw when looking a little bit more into him is he was the one that did trade Jack Eichel, and I don't know if it was management specifically that made the decision that he couldn't get the surgery he wanted, but that was the main reason why Jack Eichel left, because he wanted to get some sort of surgery. I think it was on his neck or shoulders, and they said no. And he kind of said, if you don't give me this, I'm going to leave. And I think it was a mix of a bunch of other stuff as well, but that was one of the leading causes. But under Adams was when Eichel was traded. So, I mean, he's done a good job putting rosters together, of course, but I don't know. It doesn't stand out as much, I think, as the general manager committee would be looking for and who wants to overtake the Preds. And then there's the whole thing of, well, are they just going to go with the inside candidate as well? So I don't know. It's interesting to see how they're going to go about this. I do think this is a name that definitely would be a good interview, but yeah, it just doesn't stick out as much. As you mentioned, a good roster builder, of course, but I mean, you're seeing the fruits of his labor after the fact. So, I mean, that's the part of it where he's like, about it. So, yeah, but it's a good question. It's a good take. Definitely deserves an interview for sure. But Tanner Moendijk Foundation, thank you for submitting. Always a regular. Love to see it. One more question for the mailbag today, and then we'll see y'all next week on the mailbag. There's a whole week of episodes coming up for Locked On Predators. But Justus Onanen or UC Saros is the last question from Brett from Jackson. And I don't know what you're asking with them, or if just who I prefer over either or whatever. But I mean, each of them have their really good qualities in the play they bring. I mean, Justus Onanen has been playing out of his mind lately. UC Saros has been just consistent all year. This is a very good goaltending tandem here. I will say, if Saros' his age catches up to him in any way, shape, or form, Onanen would be able to pick up really quickly. I think his game is progressing very well, but Saros is still very much a starter. This guy's still extremely very dominant and has been carrying this team a lot throughout the year. He's just been very critical to everything the Predators does. He's done everything he can essentially for this team this year. These two have been very, very good as of late. So, I mean, this is a great goaltending tandem. I hope down the road that maybe they can capture the Jennings trophy for the best goaltender duo of the year. But I mean, both of them are very good, but I would have to prefer UC Saros just because he's just been so dominant this year. He's so consistent. He is so locked into everything he does. He played for Team Finland this year. This is the best Finnish goaltender in the NHL right now. And I mean, he's just consistent. But either way, it seems everyone likes both of these guys. So, I mean, that's the good part as well. They both have a large fandom following them for sure. Two really great guys, two really great goalies. But that's all I got for you guys today. Thank you. I want to do one more thing. Someone mentioned it in one of the YouTube comments. This is my dog, Clarkson. If you guys are watching, you could see it. But let's see if we jump up here. This is my dog, Clarkson. He is a 6-year-old husky mix. I adopted him when I was living in North Dakota. And he's a chaos monster. But if you see him roaming around the background on any of the episodes, and he's sneezing right now, that's Clarkson. It's my dog, and he's awesome. So wanted to introduce him to y'all. I know y'all have been seeing him roaming if you watch the episodes, but we can make him a regular and lock him in the office while I record these. But again, if you guys are interested in all my ramblings and what's not, at Jack G. Williams on Twitter/X, Jack Williams on the Hockey News Nashville Predators. And hey, if you guys are interested just on Locked On Predators, on Twitter, we are LO_Predators. Facebook and Instagram, we're Locked On Predators. Everyday Club, $5 a month, $50 a year, ad-free audio, members-only Discord access. It's built for our most loyal fans. And hey, this mailbag here, once again, thank you guys for submitting. If you guys want to get involved, the link to submit is in every episode description. And yeah, just appreciative of y'all, thankful for y'all, grateful for y'all. And I'll see you tomorrow on another episode of the Locked On Predators podcast.